Hi, namaste. I'm just taking a walk here. I thought I'd make a video discussing the difference between belief and knowing, and maybe get into what true faith is versus the normal conception, the normal religious concept of faith. So, first of all, for those of you raised in the West, unless you had a particularly eclectic spiritual upbringing, most of us were sold belief in place of knowing. Meaning, the church has told us to believe blindly with no rational basis to have such beliefs, except that they say so. Literally, they're just taking a story, passing it down, and then expecting you to believe that that story is more valid than your experience of life, that you should base your experience of life through it. You know? So, now in the East, because of the traditions of yoga and many others, Buddhism, Hinduism, they're a little more familiar with the concept of actually knowing something firsthand. So just for example, most of us here in the West are raised to believe that life after death is an unknowable veil. We cannot know what's on the other side of that, except for just a few people who had some sort of near-death experience, and most people are pretty up in the air as to whether they even believe in such a thing. Sorry, I gotta cross the street. So, now that also is a belief in the East, but there's more penetration of that concept in the East. There are those who know, and there are those who know that others know, or at least firmly believe that others actually know what's on the other side, what actually is when you die. And that's what I'm saying, that you can actually know. I know. I've seen it. Doesn't mean, okay, there can never be physical evidence, really, for the non-physical, for what's beyond this whole framework, So the mind will demand proof. The skeptical mind will demand proof, especially when it's not provable to the mind. That's when it really wants the proof, because it wants to keep you from seeing the truth. Well, it doesn't really want anything like that, but anyways, so any belief you have in God must be false, because all beliefs are false. They themselves are a falsehood. They are saying that they are the lack of knowledge. They are saying, I don't know this thing. I'm just gonna say, okay, just gonna accept it. But see, the belief in something, let's say there's someone accused of murder, okay? And let's say he's innocent. But I believe, due to some information or because someone else said so or whatever, I believe that he's guilty. Well, now I can't know the truth. The only way for me to ever know the truth of his innocence is to let go of the belief that he's guilty. So So let that sink in, that a belief can radically shift your experience of this reality. Now, how many beliefs do you have? How many do you have? If you have thousands of beliefs about the world, about everything you see around you, if everything you see around you, you're saying tree is that, tree is this. I know what a tree is because I read it in a book. I know what this thing is because someone told me so. None of these things you're experiencing in truth. Because the only way to experience something in truth is to have no beliefs about it. You must look at it and say, I know nothing of you, until you actually do know. Until you actually do from direct experience. But see, we don't even know we can experience things directly without like touching them, for say, like if I'm looking at a cloud. I used to think that the only way I could experience that cloud was either if it rained on me or to just perceive it with the eyes. So is that my whole possible experience that I can have with that cloud? No, it's not. There's a direct awareness that I can come into, a direct union with that, because we are both actually the same thing. Both the cloud and I are simply appearances. The cloud and this body are simply appearances within consciousness, within our consciousness. So then why wouldn't I be able to experience the cloud directly if this is the truth? And you can. But you have to experience it free of the mind, free of the distractions of the mind. You have to sit with your attention on it long enough and one-pointed enough that nothing else enters your awareness. At that point, there is no you, there's only the cloud. There's only the cloud. You are the cloud. So the broader thing I'm trying to say here is that you can know God. You don't have to believe. God doesn't require your belief. Nothing actually requires your belief. Your belief only ever veils reality from you. So you can actually know what's going to happen when this body stops. You can know anything because we are limitless. In a sense, you can only ever know from this point you can only ever know your experience. So you can't say anything necessarily definitive about anyone else's experience. But once you get beyond the sense experiences, because whatever we see through these five senses is only a limited perspective. It's a tiny sliver of what's actually out there. We miss more than we see, and we're only seeing it one particular way. So, hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta cross this street. It's a highway. Sorry. So when you look out in the universe, the mind has these questions. It wants more and more knowledge, understanding. But see, what the mind is taking as knowledge is actually just information. It's just data. Okay, that's not the same thing as knowledge or truth, because let's say I take and I write down the cause of the American colonization and the genocide of the Native American people. If I write that down, whose side am I writing it down from? Unless I can write it down from every perspective, from the infinite perspective, which is God's perspective, then I'm not writing it in truth. I'm writing a limited, skewed perspective of it, a corruption of it. So that means, like I've said many times before, words themselves are symbols. Words are symbols. They cannot be the truth themselves. So someone reading 1,000 books and memorizing every bit in there doesn't make them one bit more intelligent or even one bit more aware. And in fact, it actually makes them less. See, they may seem more intelligent because, let's take science, which is actually just another church. And keep in mind that I've studied physics all the way up to quantum physics, chemistry. I had 4.0. I understood it perfectly well. But I'm telling you, it's completely false. It is completely false. Because it's just a limited framework. It's just another representation, just another system. What is mathematics? They take mathematics. We take it like it's the true word of God. Oh, the math says it? Okay, it must be true. Even those people who don't understand math just listen to what the scientists say. Oh, the math said it. They must know what they're talking about because they all agree they know what they're talking about. That's the only confirmation they have. Jesus said we will know them by their fruits. Look at the fruits of the intelligent. Look what they've created. Every time they try to fix a problem, they make two more. Because their intelligence is just a limited perspective. So, what is mathematics? What is physics trying to explain? It's trying to explain this out here. The same thing your eyes are doing, except your eyes are much better at it. They're much more intelligent than the smartest physicist. And so are you. Much more. We all have access to an intelligence that is boundless. Boundless. You see, to explain this out here, which is actually what you are creating with a symbolic system like mathematics, is already a step down in awareness. Because you could have known it directly. If I can't know the truth through these five senses, what can I know true? Anything without the five senses. Anything not coming through the five senses. Which is what? Just you. Just your direct experience. Just the silent you. See? Because you don't need to go anywhere to find yourself or experience yourself. You don't need to do anything to see yourself or know yourself. You don't need to do anything to be yourself. Right? So, this is a hurdle for a lot of people who were raised as Christians or any, Islam. It doesn't matter. It's just if you were raised with the belief that the most you can ever know about God is, or the most you can ever really experience of God is just the concept in the head that says God is this and is an image, and then you just that's it. You just make up a story about it, attach some attributes. That's not God, because God is outside of our minds completely. God is what's real. What's real doesn't require our belief in it. It doesn't have anything to do with our belief in it. And in the East, look at Buddhists. And there's a lot of different schools of Buddhists, and Christians, of course. But most Buddhists, although their perception of truth may be comparatively higher than most Christians, I would say. However, they're still, that doesn't really actually put you any closer to infinity. You can incrementally improve forever and never get to infinity. You can't incrementally improve spiritually, honestly. You can incrementally return. You can incrementally drop crap, but adding more, you can't add more stuff to to the infinite. You are already all of it, you know? So most Buddhists have a particular idea about what the Buddha was. And that idea, just like the Christians, places Buddha far above them. Look how many Buddhas they've declared in history. Very, very few, you know? Out of all those meditators, none of them have found nirvana. Is nirvana such a hard thing to find? Is it really that hard? What is it? Cessation of vana? Cessation of vana. So cessation of thought. Cessation of thought energy. That's what they're saying. Cessation of the mind. So all they're really saying is silence. Silence is nirvana. But they mean deep, deep silence. Silence means there's no ripples, there's no movement, there's stillness, there's no patterns playing out anymore because you've let go of all false concepts, including those added on in the past life. I was going to make this video a little longer, but I'm going to cut it here because I really should focus on getting to where I'm going. Namaste. I love you all.